and I thought being exhausted was part of bodybuilding. But under eating and overtraining just led me to hormone issues, losing my cycle, constant inflammation, poor pumps, slower muscle growth, and just burnout. Good morning. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. And if this is your first video of mine, my name's Jasmine. I create lifestyle vlogs, but also bodybuilding vlogs. So I upload every single Saturday at 10 a.m. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you give this video a like and a subscribe, and also follow my Instagram and TikTok daily updates. So if you watched last week's video, you knew I was giving you an update of where I am in this growth season. I'm trying to increase my muscle mass. I'm also trying to pack on as much muscle as I can as possible, and that is all great. All my videos generally have been centered around training and the importance of fueling. But what about rest? What about the time that we don't spend in the gym? So today is the growth era, the series that I started to document my whole growth. And this is not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, all encompassing. And something that I wanted to discuss in today's video was rest days. Now, I'm not going to lie. For years, I thought taking a day off meant I'd lose progress, I'd gain weight, I'd fall behind. But rest days are one of the biggest reasons my physique, my hormones, and my mindset are the best they've ever been. So today, I am going to talk you through exactly what I do on a rest day. Now, let's catch you up. If you've not watched one of my videos before, and I've documented a lot, so go back and watch, but I train 3 lower and 2 upper currently. So I have 2 rest days, and they fall exactly the same day every single week. So they fall on a Thursday and a Sunday, generally, give or take, but they should be the days. So Thursday, I'm at work, I'm very productive, I get appointments done, I get anything that the time in the gym that I spend, I can get done. And as a girl, I like to get my nails done, I like to get my eyebrows done, I like to get things done, and I like to also look after myself. And that's something that I neglected in previous off seasons. I would really, it sounds so silly, moisturize my body, look after my skincare, but now I really do look after myself. So those Thursdays are very much productive, but I do try to take at least 1 to 2 hours out in the evening to try and set myself up for the next 2 training days. Now, today is a Sunday, and I don't generally film on Sundays. I don't generally try to work, but I decided to vlog. So what did I do? I did sleep. I used to feel victim to always wanting to get up at 8 a.m, 7 a.m, 6 a.m, 5 a.m at one stage. But now I just let my body, I do have an alarm for 8, but I do try to get a little bit more sleep in on a Sunday. I do work a 9 to 5. I also work multiple businesses. So Sundays are crucial for me to set myself up for success for the week. I let myself sleep, then I get up. And for me, getting outside in the first 30 minutes is so important. So I get up, I walk to the gym, I do some cardio, I do some steps, and I call it. I used to do abs. I stopped doing that on a Sunday. Why? I was just resenting it, and I was just doing it to do it. And I also need to make sure that I'm sustainable and not burning out. And that's something that I definitely have experienced before, and that's something I'm trying to not experience again. Now, if I'm being honest, I come back and then I will clean. I will do my Sunday deep clean, and I'm not afraid to say that. I will gutter everything. Windows, skirting boards, mop the floor. I'm currently sat on a wet floor, but you know, we move. And then I will make sure that any extra clients, I forgot to say, as soon as I get up, it's not the best, but I check all client messages, anyone that's not been responded back to. So that is like the first thing I do before I even step outside for the gym. Then I check client messages again, check any videos, any messages, any queries for the upcoming week. And then I will sit down after I've done my cleaning, and I will make sure that I've mapped out my week. I can do a whole separate video on that if you want to, of how I juggle so many things, but that's so important to me to make sure that I am ensuring that I'm setting my week up with success. Now, if I'm honest, I used to be absolutely terrified of rest days. I was under fueling, training 6 to 7 days a week, and I thought being exhausted was part of bodybuilding. But under eating and overtraining just led me to hormone issues, losing my cycle, constant inflammation, poor pumps, slower muscle growth, and just burnout. So one thing that my coach told me is muscle does not grow in the gym. It grows when you rest and you eat. And that was the switch. That was the absolute switch for me. So what I eat on a rest day or a low day, I will document in the next video. If you want to see it, drop a comment down below. But I make sure I fuel on rest days. I do not under-eat on rest days. I do not get fear of food on rest days. That food is going to help my body heal to be able to perform in my next session. So I know that tomorrow is glute. So I need to make sure that I am fueling enough to carry that over. Now, for me, my food does not, I don't get scared of food. And if anything, my body needs this the most. So my body needs to repair, it needs to rest. And you know what, most of the time I do have DOMs in my glutes, but I need to repair, I need to replenish, and I also need to build. So that is something that I really used to take for granted, and now I don't fear it. I know that this is part of the process, and rest days are so important for me. So that is everything up into that point. Now, what do I actually do? It's about 1 o'clock by the time I've done the deep cleaning, messages, I map out my week, and I also make sure my Google calendar is up to date. Everyone knows when their meetings are. My work laptop is up to date, and also my personal calendar is up to date. There's a lot of moving parts here, but setting my week up with success, I generally plan 2 weeks in ahead so I know what I'm doing, but familiarizing myself. Okay, I have blocks of work for certain times, and time blocking for me really works. I like to batch tasks. So if it's corporate work, if it's online coaching calls, they are done in set blocks so that I am already in that mode. Task switching is one of the worst things that you can do, and it's something that I used to do, but now I realize having dedicated time block for certain elements is so important. So I use today to make sure I focus on work, planning, resetting for the week, making sure that I feel better, and honestly, some self-care, shaving, moisturizing. It makes me feel better in myself and enjoying training so much more. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Now, how do rest days make you a better athlete? And that's something that I used to really find hard. I've got no issue doing the hard work. I've got no issue pushing, but sometimes taking that step back is something I've really learned this year specifically, and it makes me stronger, especially as a female bodybuilder. So hormones need to recover. Your thyroid, your cortisol, they all respond to stress. If anyone hasn't watched one of my videos before, I am autoimmune, so I have a thyroid issue. If you never turn on rest mode, which is so hard for me, your body won't heal and your mind won't heal as well. So point number 2 that I wanted to teach you was muscle grows outside the gym. Your growth is actually happening right now. When you are not in the gym, you could be watching this on the triple, but when you are sleeping, recovering, rest day, Jasmine over gym Jasmine, because that is where both of them are as hard as each other. Point number 3, you train harder the next day. When I know what session I'm going into, I can't train more than 3 days in a row now, and I genuinely never thought I'd get to that stage, but there has come a point where I genuinely get to Wednesday and I'm battered. I am ready for that rest day, and when I get to that day, I'm like, okay, I need this rest and I need to take this rest. So that is something that I've really leaned into now. Point number 4, mental clarity. Now, rest days, they keep my love of training alive. There is a difference between discipline and burnout, and that is something that I have had to learn the hard way. I've hit burnout more times this year than probably the last 2 years, but I've been going full Capel. So that is something that I think is so important. Now, I've made a lot of mistakes on a rest day, and I would definitely think that under eating on a rest day or doing too much active recovery, you know, doing a bit of extra cardio, doing a little bit of extra steps. Number 3, letting guilt dictate my routine. Okay, so I have to train, I have to do this. No, it's okay. Listen to your body. When you become really experienced in this sport, you realize the importance of leaning into the cues that your body are giving. And stress management, this is my biggest downfall. I will 100% own up to the fact that my stress management could be better, and it should be better. So what should an ideal rest day look like for me? I've talked you through it. 10,000 steps, a bit of cardio, full meals, no restriction, making sure I get all my water in, making sure that I take that slower approach. I'm still pretty go in the morning, but I like to have a slower evening. I always make sure that I have some type of sunlight. I think that's so important if you live in a darker country, and that's why certain set filming times now are before the sunset. And I always want to do something that brings me joy, and that is exactly why I was reading. Side note, I put it on my Instagram, my updated good read, and also I've posted a bit more book talk. I started a book talk about a year or 18 months ago, then I stopped it because I was focusing on the fitness TikTok, but I read a lot. So now I'm just sharing a lot on TikTok about my reading, and everyone seems to be loving it. So I read 177 books in 2024, and I don't know how many I'm going to read this year. I'm not going to try and beat it, even though I'm quite competitive. Anyway, I need to stop going on tangents here. So that is my full rest day and why it's such a big part of my routine. And in this off season, additionally to growing. If you want to see more episodes of the growth era, I've made a little playlist, but please go and check them out. And also next week, make sure that you stay tuned for 10 a.m. on Saturday, because I will be discussing and vlogging how I'm tracking progress every single week and how I plan my weeks for success alongside my recovery for the optimal amount of muscle growth. So make sure you turn your notifications on, and I'll see you next time.